Hey everyone, welcome back to Shop Life. This is our first DIY car video in the new shop. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be reviewing and installing the Switchback Angel Eyes that came out by iJDM Toy. So basically what it means is the regular Angel Eyes, they're just the, the white LED ones, and these have switchback. So whenever you put the turn signal, it will blink amber on that side. So there's one extra wire in the harness, but we're going to show you how to install it and we're going to see how they turn out. Let's just get right on with it. We got these from iJDM Toy. You can find them on Amazon or directly from their website. Or if you're in Southern California, they're right, I think, in South Del Monte. You could get them from directly from their store. So let's just go and open it up and see what it comes with. I believe these came out to like $63. We'll have it linked down below, the Amazon link that we used. So they actually look exactly like the ones that we've used in the past. The harness is a little bit different. There's these two extra boxes on it, but the actual connectors are a little bit better quality than they have been in the past. So we have here is a facelift sedan. It's a 2003 325i. This DIY will be pretty much the same for all pre-facelift coupes and all of the sedans on the E46. The facelift coupes and convertibles, their headlights are sealed, so you'll have to bake those open in order to install them. And even their Angel Eye size is completely different. So if you have a facelift coupe with the sealed headlights, this will not work for you. Let's get right to it. First, what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove all of these gaskets, the trim on the bottom, the corner light. That way we have access to the inside of this headlight. So these headlights, as you can see, they have removable tabs, so the lens comes right off. So to remove this gasket, there's a couple of tabs you just have to pull. You just gotta push it up on here. And one right there. So you have this one, this one, this one, this one, that one. And they just have a little latch on the bottom, so you have to lift it up and it'll just pull right out. So if you actually wanted to, you can remove the whole headlight. It's not necessary, but it would make it a little bit easier to run the wiring. For us, we're not gonna do that, we're just gonna take the lens off. So now we're gonna remove this lower part of the trim. You wanna start with this tab right here on the inside of the headlight. You just push it. You might have to use a flathead. You just push it out. You can see this little tab right here. That tab goes behind this opening, so you want to push that tab in and pull out at the same time. And there's a couple of other tabs underneath the whole headlight. So you just want to keep pulling gently. And then at the fender on the facelift, you're going to have two tabs that go inside of it. So you want to pull that out gently. You can use a trim removal tool to go in this gap and pry on it a little bit. One of our tabs is actually broken, but you can see right here, this is what the tabs look like, and they just go into this opening. Now we're gonna remove this corner light. So on the facelift, there's actually a screw that screws into the corner light. So it's right up through this opening. If you have pre-facelift, there's just like little push tabs, which we'll have another video for the Angel Eyes link down below, and that shows you how to do it on the pre-facelift. So for the facelift, you're just gonna unscrew this Phillips head screw. You don't have to remove it all the way, you just have to loosen it up. Once you have the screw loosened, then you can just pull it straight out. Now you just want to disconnect the light. Just push this tab in and pull it out. Now we have access to the whole lens and all the tabs that hold the lens onto the headlight. So just want to lift those up. There's 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and then 1 on the side. Now with the factory xenon, sometimes the lens actually fogs up. The other issue is the back of the projector also sometimes burns, which causes the color to discolor of the actual headlight. But if yours is just like fogged up right here, the lens, just wipe that off with the microfiber and it will make a little bit of a difference on the light output. But now what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this trim part that's inside the headlight. It is held in with these tabs, so you're just gonna pull it off. There's a tab right here, there, one on the bottom, and these 3. Now here are the tabs that they include with the kit, and here are the angel eyes. If yours is still hooked up to the harness, just disconnect it from this section, just pull off. And now we're gonna start putting these tabs on first. So what you wanna do is, there's a little indent right in the middle. So there's this indent right in the middle. We're gonna get the clips slid on there first, and then we'll slide them to where they need to be positioned. There's one. Now where your high beam bulb actually attaches to the headlight, there's gonna be a rubber gasket kind of cover. So we're gonna run our wires through there. The other option is you can drill a hole in the headlight and you can run the wires through there, or where the actual xenon bulb goes on this plastic hard cover, you can take that cover off, drill a hole in there, and pass the wires through there. We're just gonna run through this rubber gasket because that's the least invasive, and then we can run the wire out. That way in the future, if we remove the angel eyes, we can just put the gasket back on with no, with no damage to the actual headlight assembly. All right, so you can see how I pulled this first wire out. We're gonna push the wires through first before we attach the angel eyes to the actual headlight. Now that we've got both wires through, we can start clipping it on. So they actually provide us with some 3M tape that you can put on the back of this and then secure it to the headlight bowl. But the thing with that is, over time that tape just wears out and it's gonna just keep falling off anyways. Even though this is a little bit loose, when we put the trim in the front, it's gonna hold it in place. So it won't actually move around. Now you want to test fit this trim, make sure it still fits in nice and snug. Hold on, let me get this straight. So in order to fit this headlight trim back in place, I had to move these 2 plastic tabs over. That way they don't interfere with this back section of the trim. So this side was fine, we had them 2 on each corner. This one we had to move over. And now you can see, like, even if it moves a little bit, like, it can't really fall off. And this one barely moves. So one thing you do want to be sure about is you want to make sure that this angel eye is centered with the projector lens, that way it doesn't look off. And you also want to make sure it's centered with the headlight trim. So we've got both the wires run through the back. We've got the trim back on. Now we're going to put the lens back on. So lens just clips right back on how it came off. You just want to make sure that everything is lined up. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm not going to film taking all this stuff off. It's exactly the same, just on the other side. We'll get right back on it once we're ready to wire everything up. All right, so I finished this side. We did the same thing. We ran both of the angel eye wires through the high beam section where that rubber boot is, and now they're both sticking out right behind the airbox, or right in front of the airbox. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hook up these, I believe they're called inverters. There's one for each side. So both of these just plug directly into it. It doesn't matter which way you go because they're both the same. Just make sure it lines up. Just push it in. And now you'll see, like, this has a yellow wire, and this yellow wire is what we're going to tap in to the turn signal wiring, and that's what's going to cause the switchback to amber whenever you have this turn signal on. But besides that, if you don't want the switchback section, you just don't mess with this wire. You can just tape it up or cut it shorter or just do whatever you want with it. And this is the actual part of the harness that goes to the rest of the car, and that's how the angel eyes are going to turn on and off with the car. You can make them fade in and fade out. And this is the harness that it came with. You're going to see there's a red and a white wire, and these two are going to go into the cabin. And then you're also going to have a black wire, and this black wire is going to go to the ground point on the passenger side. So let's route this harness a little bit. All right, so the long part of the harness, the one that just has this single wire going all the way, is going to go through this section right here on the cabin filter housing. We're going to take it underneath this rubber section and run it along with these wires. So in order to do that, you got to undo these clips. You can use a flathead or just your fingers. We're going to feed it underneath this. And then now you can see there's two connectors, but I guess this harness, they just use the same one from their previous versions. On this one, we only have one, so we just have to hook it up to one. There we go. Now this one you can just tape up or you can cut it off and just make sure none of the wires are touching. Right now we're just gonna leave that alone. Let's do the other side. Now on this side, we have this one black cable with a terminal on it. So we're gonna take off this 10mm nut. Already loosened it. Attach it to that. Now we have this cable that goes to this side. Now the only thing left is this red and white wire, which we're going to run into the cabin. But first, let's take out the glove box so we have access to see everything. All right, now we're going to remove the glove box. So in order to do that, there's going to be a couple of Phillips head screws. First one's right here. Now we can open the glove box. There's one behind here. This is hard to see, so once I pull the glove box off, I'm going to show you guys exactly where all of them are. So here's where one of those Phillips screws goes that we can't really see once it's in the car. And then the other one's right here on the other side. And then the three on the top. And then one on the bottom right here. So once all the screws are out, what we're going to do is we're going to pull up and out towards us. And you can see how there's a hook right here. There's the same one on this side, and that's what hooks onto the actual dashboard. So with that out, you can unhook these wires if you want to move the glove box out of the way. You don't have to. I'm going to go ahead and do it, that way we have more space to film. Alright, so now with the glove box out of the way, you can see inside this cavity, there is a rubber grommet that goes to the firewall. So we're going to push the wires through that rubber grommet and then pull them through here. Alright, so let's make a cut on that grommet on the other side and start pushing the wires through. Alright, so here's the grommet and the pin. I put a little slit right here with a razor blade right on the top, and then we should be able to just push these wires through there. Just push them in enough and then we'll pull them in from the other side. Alright, so now here are both of the wires that came out the grommet. You can take them through here if you want. I just take it from underneath because that's how they were coming. Now we're just going to pull them all the way in. Alright, so the white one is going to go to the footwell light, which is right here. And what this is going to do is going to fade the angel eyes in and out when you unlock and lock the car. So this one we can just use like one of the little wire taps and put it on the colored wire for this footwell light. And now the red wire is going to go up into the fuse box, and we're going to put it into a fuse that only comes on with the accessory. So that means like when you first turn, when you turn the keys to the second position, accessory mode, that's the only time it'll get power. Because you don't want to keep feeding the angel eyes power like even when the car's off, because then they're just going to stay on and your battery's going to die. So we're going to run this red wire all the way to the top. Alright, so we're going to pull this fuse box down. You want to turn them so they're pointing towards you, both of them. And then you can pull it down like this. I'm going to run the wire through the back and on top of this fuse box. Just along with all these other red wires pretty much. And now we have it coming out here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull out this fuse panel diagram, and we're going to figure out which fuse is only on accessory. So this car is a sedan, so what we're going to use is we're going to use fuse number 13, which is the rollover protective system for the convertibles. So there's no fuse in it right now. We're just going to put it directly onto that bottom pin because there's nothing on the top pin. So if it was a convertible, you'll probably have a fuse there. So that's why we're able to use it since this is a sedan. Another option that you can do is like the garage door opener. That's one. If you don't have a rain sensor, you could use number 15 for the rain sensor. But most likely, number 13 should do the trick. And make sure the wire's not going to get kinked when you move this fuse box in and out. Ours is good. You can also even zip tie it to the rest of the wires to further prevent it from, moving around later on. Alright, so now we have this white wire left, which we're going to tap into the footwell light so we can fade in and fade out. If you don't want that functionality, you can just tape it up and leave it on the side. So in order to do that, we're just going to pull out this connector. So here's the wire tap. I just had this one left over. They didn't give one with this kit, but usually on the other kits, they used to come with blue ones. If you don't, you can just go to AutoZone and buy a set. They just come in a container. What we're going to do is we're going to tap into this red one. As you can see, someone's already done it before. They used to have angel eyes on here, so that's why it's like that. So we're going to cut off this terminal. Now we're going to run this wire inside of here into the first all the way inside slot. And then we're going to get this one on the second slot. And make sure you're doing the colored wire. Just squeeze it. Make sure it clips onto the other side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the plier. We're just going to squeeze it so that way this clips onto the other side and that metal piece goes through both wires. And what that's going to do is it's going to take off a little bit of the insulation off of both wires, and it's going to just make a contact between the two. And make sure you don't get the ground cable, this brown one, make sure you don't damage that with your pliers or whatever you're using. So this should be good to go now. You can also tape it up for extra measure. We're going to test it out first, so we're going to plug it back in. And then just open your door, or press this button right here if it's already turned off. And your footwell light should turn on. If the footwell light is on, that means the angel light should be on, so let's go take a look. And there we have it, so they're on. Let's close the door and let's see if it turns off with the door light. Now watch, when I unlock it, it's gonna come back. Bam. It did blink orange for a second, that's because of the switchbacks. So now let's wire the switchbacks in. Now we're gonna need two more of these wire taps, so that way we can wire in this switchback to the turn signals. So the yellow wire, you wanna put that inside first. And you wanna get on the colored wire. Got the yellow wire from the angel eyes on the inside, because there's a stopper on it. And then the colored wire on the outside. And I just pushed this metal tab in, and that went through both the turn signal wire and the yellow wire. Now we can just put this clasp and tighten it, that way it doesn't separate. And we should be good. So let's test this out. I'm gonna turn the right turn signal on and see if it blinks orange or amber. No?
Yep.
Now we're gonna do the same thing on this side with another wire tap. Now let's put it back in. So the main trick here is to make sure those hooks go on the openings on the dash. And then underneath, you wanna make sure there's no wires that come out and it just slide into where the footwell light is. Now you just gotta put all the screws back where I showed y'all. 3 on the top, 2 on the sides, 1 on the bottom. And they are all the same type of Phillips. Now with all the wiring double checked, electrical taped, everything, we can put the headlights back together. So we're gonna start by putting the corner lights in. I'm just gonna show this side since this is the side that we took off. So this washer needs to go on top of these tabs. So just lift it up. Slide it in. Now just use your Phillips to tighten the screw from the top. You want to put the corners on the fender first. So get that lined up and make sure this tab is on the outside of the headlight where it needs to go. And then just push everything in. This gasket, just make sure it lines up on all the tabs before you push it in. So one thing that we have noticed after we just tested it a little bit, the switchback, when that occurs, so like when it goes to amber if you have your turn signal, and when it has to go back to white, there is a little bit of a delay, like probably like 1 second, which you will notice, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal. If you didn't want any delay, your only option is to just get rid of the whole switchback thing. So just not hook up that yellow wire, but then you won't have the switchback option. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. Your corner lights will still work. It's just, after the corner light turns off, so after you're done completing the turn, it's gonna take like a second for the white to come back. So in that meantime, there will be no light on, no angel eyes on. Turn your key to the first position. There, turn signal.
Turn it off. Yeah, so you won't
There's
have
the
that
lag.
light.
And the reason that they're blinking so fast is because he's got aftermarket taillights and the resistors are out on that. So it just thinks that the bulb is out when it's really not. All right, so we're pretty much done with the whole DIY here. And the only thing that you're still gonna have to do on your own time, I would recommend, is to either tape all these up or get some kind of wiring loom protector, put it over the whole harness and just zip tie it along this other harnesses. That way it just, you know, stays secure. Especially with this box, you don't really want this getting wet or moving around too much. And oh, this is actually kind of loose. We didn't loosen that. That's how it came from the factory. So we're gonna tighten that up too. So stuff like that, I mean, these angel eyes were I think like $65. So I mean, they are not that expensive compared to the other ones. I'll have the other ones linked down below as well. I'll have all the multicolor ones. I'll also have the regular, just white, and these. So check those out if you need them. The links will be in the description and in the comments. But besides that, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna see how long these last. If we have any issues in the future, we'll make a follow-up video. But the other ones that we've been using for the past 3 years, they're still working just fine. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in our next video.